Hi, welcome to my video on a combination of adding and subtracting polynomials with the distributive property. When simplifying a combination of operations on polynomials, the order of operations has to be obeyed. Follow PEMDAS or PEMDAS, and we know that the P and the B stands for brackets and parentheses, that we got to do the inside of those first, and then we do E as the exponents, and we do multiplication and division, or division multiplication, either or from left to right, and then we do addition subtraction from left to right. So let's simplify a few of these problems. Simplify in descending order. Descending order means to go from the largest to the smallest as a result of the degree of each term. So here we go. A, the 3 is multiplied by, we have to do PEMDAS, so P-E-M-D-A-S. At the inside the brackets we already have done, because x plus 6 can't be added together because they're on like terms. So let's distribute the 3 times x is 3x. 3 times 6 is 18, and write down to 2x. Now we have no exponents to do, so we do multiplication, division, left to right, but that's an addition, so that's done. So as we go from left to right, but we have to group our like terms together, and 2x moves over, so that gives us 3x, 2x, 5x, plus 18. Notice I could leave this step out if I wanted to, and just take the 3x and look for here and get the 2x and put the 5x and then the 18. But let's write them down first to be consistent. PEMDAS again, P-E-M-D-A-S, and we have inside brackets here is x minus 1, can't do that because they're on like terms. We have no exponents, and we have to do multiplication division first from left to right. So notice I have subtract 8x, negative 8x, subtract 7 times the x minus 1. So I have to do this multiplication first. So this subtract 7 could be, again, plus negative if you wish. So I have to multiply these two first. Notice if I cannot add these anyway, but I have to multiply. So the negative 8, negative 7 times x is negative 7x. Negative 7 times negative 1 is plus 7. Now, this, remember, that was a negative 7 and a negative 1, so negative times negative is a positive. Again, if you want to go plus negative, go ahead. So a negative 7 times negative 1 is still going to give you the 7. The like terms are grouped together. That's a subtraction. So we add the like terms. So negative 8, negative 7, negative 15. Again, we should, by now, as you begin to do all these polynomials and integers, we should be able to say, do I wish to go with plus negative 7? Your choice, to get the negative 15. And distributive property again, PEMDAS. Notice again there's no, you can't do anything in here because they're on like. You can't do this because they're on like. There's no exponents, so we have to multiply x times x to get x squared, x times 2 to get 2x, and we got a multiplication right here. So we have, notice we have to do the multiplications first. So 9 times negative x is negative 9x, and 9 times 3 is 27. Now we have to group our like terms. That's an x squared, that's, oh, they're already together. So this is an x squared. Add up these, we got a negative 7x plus 27. Again, plus negative if you wish. I'll do it. Your choice. 2 and a negative 9 is negative 7, or subtract 7. And PEMDAS again, just MDAS. We have inside the brackets is a 2x plus 1. Okay. That's a 4 minus x, and that's okay. We can't, because they're on like terms. No exponents. Now we have 11x, and that's this multiplication there, and that's, and you can go, that's a subtract 4. We can go plus negative 4, same thing, and that's a subtract, so we can go plus negative. And we have a multiplication, and 11x. So we'll multiply and divide from left to right, so leave the 11x alone. 8 times 2 is 16x. 8 times 2, 8 times 1. Notice I'm using the arrows to go over so you can follow it. I got a negative 4 times 4, which is negative 16. And I got a negative 4 times negative x, which is a plus 4x. And now we group our like terms together. So we have 11x, we have a 16x, and we have a 4x. So we just scratch them for a second to make sure I got them used. And that's 8 and a negative 16, or subtract 16. Terms are grouped. So we add like terms, so we add the x's. 11, 16 is 27, and 9 is 31. And 8 subtract 16 is a negative 8, or again, plus negative if you wish. And that's done. E. We have PEMDAS again. Again, the inside of this can't be added because they're on like terms. On like terms can't be subtracted or added. Same thing here. No exponents to do outside the brackets. So we have to do multiplication, division left to right. So that's a multiplication, that's a multiplication, and that's a multiplication. Very important to remember. You do the order of operations. So 2x times x is 2x squared. 2x times negative 3, negative 6x. This time I didn't add on the opposite, so you get used to it. 2 times x squared is 2x squared. 2 times negative 4, negative 8. 2 times 1 is 2. Again, this could be plus or negative, but let's leave it. That's a negative 5x times 3. That's a negative 15. Negative 5x times negative 2 is a positive 10x. Oh, look, that's a square there. Negative 5x times 3x is negative 15x squared. Okay. Now we're finished. We have to do addition and subtraction from left to right, but we have to group our terms first. So we have a squares. I see squares, I see x's, and I see numbers, constants. So let's put the x squareds first. Done. And we got a negative 15. There's a square. So squares are done. Then I'll put the x's. Negative 6x, subtract 8x plus 10x. And scratch them out, and they're done. So what do I have left? I have a 2. And that's the only, 2 is the only constant term there. And remember, the constant term always goes on the right, because, just a reminder, 2 is understood to be 2x to the 0, because x to the 0 is 1, and 2 times 1 is 2. So every constant has a variable on the right side of it raised to that 0 power, and it's still the same number. Add like terms, we got an x squared. 2 plus 2 is 4, minus 15 is a negative 11. And negative 6, negative 8 is negative 14, and 10 is negative 4. And there's a 2 left. Descending order. Notice descending order, that's an x squared, that's x to the 1. Oh, that's a, forgot to put a plus there. And that's understood to be x to the 0. Again, same, f is the same thing. We have everything in here is a square, a cube, a square, a 1, a constant. You cannot add these together. And these are all on like terms. And these are all on like terms. We can't do anything with these. We got no power on the outside, so, and we have to, notice that's a multiplication there, and that's a multiplication there. Just a little hint now, if sometimes when you have this one right here, this is a subtraction, so we could add on the opposite. But sometimes if you think about it, that's the number in front of this is a 1. Just think about putting a 1 there like that. And when you do, then you got a negative 1 times those two. So that's the same as adding on the opposite. So if you had the negative of negative x to the 4th plus x, like that, and you added on the opposite, you would get x to the 4th minus x squared. because when you subtract, you add on the opposite. The opposite of a negative is a positive. The opposite of a positive is negative. But when we multiply by -1, we will get positive x to the fourth minus x squared. So to put a 1 here and multiply is the same as adding on its opposite. Just a little trick you can do. Anyway, let's multiply. -3x to the fourth. 1 plus 3 is 4. Negative times a negative is a positive 3x cubed. Let's do the arrows, make sure. And negative 3x times 2x is a negative 6x squared. And a negative 3x times -1 is a positive 3x. We got to multiply these. So x squared times x squared is a positive x to the fourth. X squared times negative 10x is negative 10x cubed. And negative x squared times 4 is a positive 4x squared. And again, the -1, putting the 1 in here, multiply, everything's okay. Now we got to do addition, subtraction, but we got to do descending order. So we look through it and see a 4, 3, a 2, a 1, and no constants. So the x to the fourth's got to go first. So that one, and this one, positive x to the fourth, and this one, positive x to the fourth. I'm crossing them out so I can pick them all up. Then I got x cubes plus 3x cubed, done. And a minus 10x cubed, done. And no more x cubes. Now I got to do x squareds. 6x squared, positive 4x squared, and a negative x squared, done. And I have, as I go through now, I should only see the positive 3x. That's done, so I got them all. Notice as I go from left to right, and as I go along, I write them down. And notice I did not change any signs when I moved these around. I didn't change any signs at all. I grouped them. -3, add on 1, that's a -1x to the fourth. Done. Cubes. 3, I could add these two up to get -16 because they're negatives. -16 and 3, -13. And the squares, I have -7 and 4 is -3. Remember, I could go -6 plus 4 is -2. -2, -1, that's a -1, that's a -3. And the 3x is by itself. Done. And a little reminder, note the brackets had to be removed in order to add. I have to multiply these first in order to add these polynomials. Most are all monomials. This is a monomial times a trinomial. So the 3x is distributed in through the 3 of these. Anything outside of bracket alone is multiplied by every term on the inside by the distributive property. Number 3, page 3 of 4. Simplify each of these in descending order, a bit of practice. Here we go. Pause the video and see if you can work all these out. And when you finish, come back to see if you're right. Press play. Here we go. PEMDAS. So again, we have no, inside the brackets is done. We got no exponents, so we have to multiply first. Notice 6x, you can't add these, but you have to multiply these two first. 6x. 5 times 2x is 10x. 5 times 3 is 15. Done. Distributed. 5 is distributed through. And add like terms, 16x. These are two like terms. 6 and 10 is 16x plus 15. You cannot add the 15 to these two because they're not like terms. You can only add like terms. Again, can't simplify in here because they're on like terms. Can't add these 3x and 4 together. Can't subtract them. We want to do the double negative, you can. Double negative is a positive, so we can get rid of that. Okay, before we start. If we want to go with a negative here and go add on -2, that's okay, your choice. But we have to multiply these two first because of the order of operations. So -8x, and that's a -6x, and a +8. Notice the -2 is multiplied by the 3x. then the negative 2 is multiplied by the negative 4, plus 10x, because we added on the opposites. Double negative is a positive. Group our like terms. The 10x goes close. The 10x goes over here to go with the x's. And a negative 8, negative 6, negative 14, and 10, negative 4x plus 8. 8 cannot add to 4x. This is not alike terms. And we have to multiply the 7. We have to multiply these two first and these two next, because we have to multiply before we add. And 7 times x, 7x. 7 times negative 2, negative 14. Negative 3 times 2x is negative 6x. Negative 3 times negative 6 is a positive 18. Notice now I'm not adding on any opposites. You get used to this, but if you want to add on opposites, go ahead. But again, as you go in the older grades, you have to get used to not adding on the opposite if you wish. But again, it's your choice. Group your like terms, 7x and negative 6x, negative 14 and 18. The x's go together and the constants go together. So 7 subtract 6 is 1. There's a 1, I won't put it there, but it's understood. Plus 4. There's a 1x. 1 is understood to be right there. And again, I have to multiply these two, and these two before I do anything. And I got to go x times x squared. Sorry, x times x is x squared. X times 6 is 6x. 8 times 3 is 24. And 8 times 2x is 16x. Multiplied. And group our like terms. They're already grouped. There's a... nope, I forgot the 16x over right there. 8 times 2x is 16x. Now I got the group by like terms. And if you're consistent, again with your math, you're going to be okay. Be consistent. And I add up these like terms to get 22. Be consistent. Do one step at a time. And the algebra will flow. You'll be good with your algebra, so you'll be good with your math, and everything will go great. Because without the algebra, the math is going to, in the higher grades, is going to be not good. And here we go again. We got to multiply these two, multiply these two. Again, you can go plus negative, but let's leave it like that. 3 times x squared, 3x squared. 3 times 2x, 6x. 3 times negative 1, negative 3. Negative 4 times x squared, negative 4x squared. Negative 4 times negative 5, plus 20x. Negative 4 times 4, minus 16. Done. Now we're going to add these. Group our like terms. Again, if you want, you can say, I'm going to do these two, and that's a negative x squared. I'm going to do these two, which is 26. And I'm going to do these two, which is a negative 19. So you didn't want to group them. But let's be consistent. Let's put our like terms together and be consistent. Notice the x squareds go together, the x's go together, and the constants is always on the right side. And now they're grouped together, and you can see I get a negative 1x squared. 1 is understood. And you can see I get, well, see what happens? Whatever happened when I wrote these down, I didn't group them. I forgot. Well, for some reason, I put it down, but I said probably 26x, but I only put down to 2. So be careful. So probably wise to group them together. Why? Because when you see them close to each other like this, you can see the addition and the subtractions easier. So group them. You might not make a mistake. Here we go again, number 6. You can't add this 7x. I have to multiply these two, and multiply these. And the 7x stays there. I can't do anything with it. So I got to do my multiplication first. So 4x times 2x, 8x squared. 4x times negative 5, negative 20x. That's a square. Negative 3, negative 6x squared. Negative 3 times 1, negative 3. Negative 2 times 5, negative 10x squared. Negative 2 times negative 3 plus 6x. Negative 2 times negative 6 plus 12. Notice I had to multiply these first according to PEMDAS, and the 7 stays till after. Group our like terms. I have an x, I have a square, I have an x. Highest exponent is a square. So 8x squared minus 6x squared and a minus 10x squared. So these are all gone. Now I'll do my x's. So that's a 7x minus 20x and a plus 6x. And we go through, we have a minus 3 and we have a plus 12. They're all grouped together. So I add the squares first. The x squared is negative 16 and 8 is negative 8. I have a 7 and 6 is 13, negative 20, so it's a negative 7. I could have went negative 13, add on 6 is negative 7, but I added my positives first and then my negative 20, because when you add the same signs, you add them up, and then you take, because the signs are different, you subtract. So it's easier that way, sometimes. And negative 3 and 12 is positive 9. And again, number 7, and a little trick, that's to subtract. So remember, that's a negative x squared plus 4x minus 5, because you add on the opposite. But if you think about it, you could put a 1 there. So let's multiply. 9x times 2x is 18x squared. 9 times 3 is 27x. Or should I say 9x times 3? Now we got that done. Now we got, that's a negative 1 or subtraction, your choice. Negative 1 times x squared. Negative 1 times negative 4x plus 4. And a negative 1 times 5 is negative 5. All done. Group the like terms. 18x squared minus x squared plus 27x plus 4x, and we have a minus 5. So there's the x squareds, there's the x's, and the 5 is left. Add. That's a negative 1, understood, so that's a 17. 27 and 4 is 31, and a minus 5. That page is done. Lots of practice. Multiply by the distributive property. Extremely important. And we got more practice here, but we want descending order and just a little bit. Let's see what's on this page. Distributive property. Oh, I know what happens. We have to do, remember we were dealing with PEMDAS, and all the previous ones we did before this, the inside was fully simplified. And we still have to obey PEMDAS. But notice the x minus 4 is okay because you can't add them. But look here. We have to add these because we got a 6x and an x and a 2 and a 1. So without rewriting this in descending order, why not just go 6x, add on x is 7x. And 2 add on 1 is 3. Just saves you a bit of time. But if you want to put down 6x plus x plus 2 plus 1 and then get 7x plus 3, go ahead. But you can see you can quickly add these. Now I'll do my distributive property. 4 times 7 is 28x. 4 times 3 is 12. 3 times x is 3x. 3 times negative 4 is negative 12. Group your like terms. 28x plus 3x plus 12x minus 12. 28 and 3 is 31x. 12 and negative 12 cancels, so the answer is 31. Group PEMDAS, do the inside first. Can I work? Yes, I got a lot of information in here, so let's see. Notice I got a big bracket and I got an inside one. So inside of here, I have to, even on the inside, if I can do simplified, I have to obey PEMDAS. So I have to, I can't add these two together, but I can multiply x times x to get x squared. X times 4 is 4x plus 9x. So the inside of that one is begin to do. So that is 3x, and I have group by like terms, x squared plus 13x. So notice, now I have the inside fully simplified. I have to multiply these two before I add on the 9x. When I multiply by distributive property, then I I add my like terms. Now I multiply the 3x by x squared, which is 3x cubed. 1 plus 2 is 3. And 3x times 13x is 26x. Done. Number 3, PEMDAS again. And I have to work the inside of this one. So let's see. And 3x and x is 4x. And that's already done, so I just write it down. Can't subtract these because they're on like terms. So I simplified inside of here first. Remember, that's a negative, so I can put a 1 there, or I can add on the opposite. Your choice. But let's see. I'll multiply first. If I let's put the 1 here. That means I got to multiply by -5 by this bracket and multiply the -1 by that bracket. So that gives me a -20x squared and -5x. Done. -1 times 12, -12x, -1 times -4 plus 4. And my terms are already in descending, 2, 1, and 1. So -20x squared minus 17x plus 4. Remember, hopefully everything is going right because you pause your video and work these out beforehand. That tells you if you're doing it right. So, and can we simplify inside of here? No. Can we simplify inside of here? No. So sometimes you can, sometimes you can't. But you always check, what's that? You always check PEMDAS when you're working your algebra for the order of operations, when you're doing your math. So the inside can't be done. No exponents. No. So I'll do the multiplication. And again, we can put a 1 here. But let's leave that alone just for a second. Let's multiply. X cubed times x squared, x5. X cubed times 2x is plus 2x to the 4. Remember, when you're multiplying these with the like basis, you add your exponents. And that's a -5x cubed. Again, do you want to put a 1 here, or you just want to add on the opposite? So if you add on the opposite, that's a positive x cubed. And the opposite of that is a -3x squared, and the opposite is a plus 4. So if you want to subtract by adding on the opposite, go ahead. If you want to put a -1 there, right from scratch, right from start, perfect. Now let's, -1 times negative, positive. -1 times positive, negative. -1 times negative, positive. So putting the 1 there is a trick. Now, like terms, any like terms. Let's see, 5, 4, 3, 3, 2, 1. So they're all perfect. They're all in descending order. They're all together. And so we have nothing. These two cannot change because there's no more like them. Cubes, -5, and that's a 1 understood. So that's -4x cubed. We have no x squareds, and we have no constants to go with those. So there's the answer. And the last one. Let's see what we have here. That's simplified PEMDAS, PEMDAS. And again, I write this down all the time, but if you by now, if you memorize this, you're like me, you just say PEMDAS, you say exponents, you say, parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, subtraction. That's grained in your head the same as if you know your name. Practice it. Nothing inside to do, all done. No exponents, nope. Now we have to multiply all these right here because it's got -2 times 3x times that, which is, or times x minus 2. And there's a multiplication here. So let's do this multiplication from left to right. So here we go. So watch this. So rather than write this down, I go -2x times 3 is a -6x squared. -2x times 3x, is 6x squared. So if you write that above here, which I did, now I just go -6x squared times x is a -6x cubed. And then a -6 times -2 is a positive 12x squared. So that saves you a step in writing all this down. But again, it's your choice. Multiply these, I get x to the fourth, multiply, positive 4x cubed, multiply, negative 3x squared. Now I have the brackets gone, remove the brackets by distributive property, add up my like terms. So I had to put them in descending order first. So I got x to the fourth, so that goes first. I got x cubed next, so 6x cubed and a 4x cubed. So they're done. I got a negative 12x squared and a minus 3. So I have them grouped. Notice I didn't change them when I moved them. They're in descending order, 4, 3, 3, 2, 2. So we add x to the fourth. This stays because there's nothing to go with it. Negative 6 plus 4 is minus 2x cubed. 12 subtract 3 is plus 9x squared. All done. Order of operations. Don't forget PEMDAS. Follow it. Multiply first. Add last. Don't forget to do the inside of the brackets. Don't forget to do the exponent. But notice in this section, I had no exponents. No power to work on. So I just kept it okay. If you like my video, click on the like button, the subscribe button, the notification bell, and write a comment if you wish. And if you're not a subscriber, well, remember I got many videos explaining things a little tiny bit at a time. Learn bit by bit by bit and build it up. And visit my math website at mathfullyexplained.com. And there you have 3 sections about me as me, my degrees and teaching experience. The video section tells you about the strategies you're going to use to help you learn your math. And the section on content has the units and the number of videos. Black font is what's online already, and the red font is what will be there in the near future, because I'm always adding on my videos, building them up. Bye-bye.